So today I'm really excited since we all have been having AI as a topic of discussion, whether it is at home, whether it is at your workplace, or invariably our usage has become very high. So let me just ask you one thing. How many of you use AI daily without even recognizing how much it has penetrated into our daily life? Everyone, I think all of us invariably are using it either in one format or the other, and that's what has been the statement from McKinsey. McKinsey's 2024 Global Survey report suggests that the AI adoption, in particular in the everyday life, has jumped to 72%, which is a huge number to kind of go about, correct? Personally, as a working parent, I have to always keep on juggling between my demanding job with my two energetic children and aging parents as well as a supporting husband to really find out the quality time, to really do the regular chores, do a pickup of a school for the kids, or really have the very tight deadlines to be met. In all of this, I find the AI assistants, personalized assistants, to be my ally, and I use that very extensively for setting up my reminders, to really go about having these schedules being created for me, having those calendars being well established for me, and that's where I feel that AI, the transformation that it is actually bringing is unprecedented, and we can really thrive and unleash the full potential of the AI in the coming days. So to begin with, let's go to the first slide, please. Okay. I'm sure this is a very, very generic one to go about, and I may skim through if you feel that this is a little boring, but this really talks about as to what in the layman terms the AI is. Any kind of an ability of a computer or any machine that is controlled by a computer which can have human intelligence. It can do the work as very simple as how humans can do it. Much to achieve, of course, cognitive capabilities or the human social and emotional capabilities are yet to be achieved. But can anyone tell me as to when is this science or the field of artificial intelligence being founded? How long do we go back? Is it 5 years, 10 years?
50.
Very close, very, very close. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
It could be much more than that because we had very early applications since the Google keyboard that was finishing for video sentences, and the Google photos were you had suggested photos. So I think I would say since the release of certain Google services, I think that would be one.
Perfect. I think there is no wrong or right answer, but it goes back to
The first native industry started this back in the 1950s.
very true. He's spot on. It is actually a science or a field of science being founded in 1956. And that's where the idea or the foundation of that science was to really go about that human intelligence or the human behavior can be so precisely described that there could be a machine that can really simulate or mimic you. But is that true? How many of us really believe that the machine will really be able to mimic or be a human as what we are? Just a while. How many of us believe in that?
What time frame?
Truly becoming a human?
Eventually?
Eventually?
Sure.
Okay.
99%.
99% do you feel that?
Why we do it?
Correct. But the stage that we are in right now is just the beginning of it. We are just at the experimentation phase of that. And that is what categorizes the types based on the capabilities. I'm very much a mother, so I have tried bringing the depiction of the heroes. So the first one, the weak AI, just talks about that we do have, or a nano AI. I think this has gone. Am I audible? So as the narrow AI or the BPI speaks about, that we have a very narrow focused approach towards solving one particular problem. It could be a washing machine, your refrigerators, and those kinds of things that actually had like a fuzzy logic or a math labs being used for developing some of the algorithms around that. Then came the general AI, which is still not, which is a very theoretical, and I'm sure Brian can speak more about that. General AI or the next one, which is the super AI, is still a very theoretical concept as we talk. General AI talks about really acquiring the cognitive capabilities, human, emotional, social way that we behave, or how we have the beliefs and the ethics and the principles that the human have, still are not getting embedded into the machine learning or into computers that are really doing about that. And super AI is still far to achieve, but we all believe that we will be reaching to that particular stage in few years. Based on the functionalities, again, we do have React machines, and very simply to put it across, theory of mind and self-awareness are very much similar to that of the general AI and the super AI, and they are still continuing to be very theoretical, research-oriented field of science to go about at this point of time. So let's move to the next one, please. Okay. So while generative AI got developed in 2023, the whole idea about having artificial intelligence not just a compliance or regulatory aspect of it, but also kind of drawing your business values and really having a business outcome at scale being produced came into picture in 2024, and that's where I think the evolution of the generative AI or the general practice of the AI came more into picture. So here I'm going to talk about very simple put as to what are the various industries that has the artificial intelligence and machine learning being used as such, and then what are the use cases, and practically go about with my experience, which spans around 8 years working on artificial intelligence. And this is a great platform for me because I started my journey in JP Morgan, experimenting with Google Bird model, the beta version of it, which was released in 2017. And in that, it started with my personal computer where I started using it. It was the Google became the pioneer because they actually released that beta version for individuals. It was not meant for the institutions or the companies. They released it that the individual could also experiment on their personal computers and go about. And I actually had used that particular model for emails summarizations or research papers to be summarized. I come from a banking background, so my research team has a lot of data that they get from the market leaders or research providers like Reuters, Bloomberg, and all that. And on a daily basis, they have to really create a summary for the CXOs as to what is really happening in the industrial or geopolitical manner, economic situations, and to go about. And then they have to go through a lot of these research documents manually to create that summary. Very similar to what Derek actually showed in our previous one, where the summary creation is not a task that after studying for 4 years in the college that you would like to try to do that. So Google Bird provided that summarization, and it was a pioneer to also have a bidirectional representation of the transformer model to kind of go about. It's an encoder model to really that implemented. So a very common use cases of the artificial intelligence systems that we can think about start from language processing. We all know large language models have been helping us in translations, in really having the content being generated, whether it is images, whether it is any kind of videos, music altogether. But there's a large aspect of machine learning where we use that for predictive analysis, for predictive maintenance of your equipment in the manufacturing or in the mining or the utilities industries. In the agriculture, we are actually using a lot of the artificial intelligence to really understand the irrigation patterns or the crop fertilization patterns, or really using the drone to really go about as to how your weather conditions should be changed, or the style of working should be changed based on the weather conditions to go about. In the financial industry, if I will talk about it, I will be talking 2 or 3 use cases. One which is very common, agnostic of the financial industry, is a record classification, simple vector classification machine model that we built it. So in that, any organizations will always have unstructured data, which is categorized as your documents, your PDFs, or your any kind of video, images, and all together. And by any company which is under the regulated environments needs to have record classifications to be applied to that data, and then either take an action of disposing that data after a certain period of time, or really having that data being retained or archived in a certain format. So for this is where the record classification, simple vector classification model came into picture, and this was built in-house by myself and my team to go about. Second example of mine would be on the data extraction, which is again very again not only in the financial industry, but we may call it that we have huge documents. Let's take an example of Derek when he said that the document contains images, correct? But in the reality, a documents may be text documents, and we would like to have certain element or a certain text being extracted from those particular documents to get either a business insight or to actually link that data into the transactional data to draw as to what you are doing it. And my example was around contract data. A contract is a counterparty legal document that you sign, whether you're purchasing a house, you're taking a loan from the bank, or the bank is actually giving a loan to the customers and all that. So any legal contract that you sign it, my bank had close to around 10 million of the contracts, and it had to be remediated and amended in a 7 months of time period, which 10 millions of contracts, no human can, even if you deploy an army of people, it would be very infeasible for them to kind of read every document, which is like 200, 300 pages, and find out those elements, whether they exist or not, terms, their difference, and all that. So I went about really using this use case and creating an OCR data extraction model to implement, and integrated that with the robust data pipelines, human in loop review process, have the reinforcement feedback learning for the model, because the efficacies of the model in the initial stage was pretty low, pretty low. We started with like 40% and then grew over a period of time to an 84% of an efficacy. And this was over a period of nine such iterations of the releases that we could do it. And that is a ML, machine learning model that we went about implementing it. Another example I may kind of bring about, which is very common, is fraud detection. It's not relevant in any specific industry. We may have frauds, any companies that actually have rewards and reimbursement policies for any document, and the employees are also submitting the documents of for reimbursement altogether, can regularly utilize that. Bank uses for their customers and for their internal employees both. And in the fraud detections, it's typically, if you take a check as an example, a check can be forged by having overwriting, or it could be the signature issue, or it could be other things. So we used the transformer model over here. We experimented with CNN, RNN, ResNet models, but we eventually end up using the transformer model to really have those images from the checks being identified, and really have the element of frauds being detected in that particular space. So I'll take a pause. If there is any particular example in this slide that actually we would like to discuss, or let's move to the next one. Okay. Ultimately, how to thrive in the AI era. We all have been hearing it from our children to our elders at our workplace, using it and all together. I would just share my anecdote of my journey as to how it started. So, being a Java developer, picked up Python, worked into big data, modernizations, used the technologies like Spark, streamings, and SQL, NoSQL database, and all together. So when it came about really having the models being built, I think I largely would resonate that your statistical and your data analytics skills comes into play a lot, and you should be really be able to identify that what are the patterns while looking at the data. Of course, the machine will be able to help you out. But I think those are the few things that really excited me to move into this particular path and be a AI enthusiast and really keep on experimenting with the models, keep on experimenting with different algorithms to go about and implementing them in the practical manner. At the same time, I would say that it was also very apt that I kept on really having the industry trends being observed. At the same time, also being following certain influencers and certain people who have been making up a lot of advances in this particular technology. Very particularly Google kind of really having it, AWS reinvents coming up with the newer features every now and then. You have Databricks, which is really having a data and the AI summit, and really understanding as what is the technology, what is really happening in the market to kind of go about. And eventually, these are few of the things which I felt about that I have to be a lifelong learner. My learning does not end after finishing my graduations or being in my field and being an expert as a Java expert or being a Python expert for a pretty long time. The technology will keep on evolving and keep on having new challenges. So I need to reskill, upskill on an ongoing basis, take up certifications to go about and very well understand firstly the AI literacy to go about. So started with really some good papers. I'm sure you can really start with one basic paper which I felt was very eye-opener for me, and that is called as Attention is All You Need. It is a paper from Google which was being published by 7 or 8 scientists. It came as a research paper by Google, and that became like the foundation for all the futuristic algorithms and the architecture that is coming across, especially the transformer architecture to go about. Needless to say that the human-centric skills, and when I say the human-centric skills, it is the interpersonal skills, cognitive capabilities, or your emotional intelligence, or the beliefs that we all have from the very beginning, from the childhood. Those particular things cannot be replaced in a very easy manner to go about. So continue really having those networking elements or the aspect of really building those emotional connects with the people, because artificial intelligence or any other technologies would not really be as relevant to that area as such. And lastly, I would say that to have an AI being used as an ally or a partner, instead of really treating AI as a threat to your job or or really treating that AI is going to be kind of really replacing it. But one thing is also sure that if we do not take an action of really upskilling with the time, we become redundant and we become irrelevant to our job or to the space altogether. So it's very important that we start treating AI as an augmentative tool. I personally, since I have migrated or relocated from my country, India to Brisbane, I started using a lot of AI prompts, ChatGPT prompts, built some kind of a ChatGPT prompts myself to really go about and started using it for some of the Australian terminology or the kind of Australian regulatory aspect of it. I can't kind of go to every element and read it myself. But to have a summarization of what APRA is doing, what Austrac is doing it, and all that, I would go to ChatGPT and really ask as to what is the industries and how it is, which I'm sure would have taken me many books to read about or interact with a lot many people to use that. So start using that as your ally, as a partner to go about. And networking and collaborations never ends. I'm sure we all are a big believer of it, and our presence today here reflects that belief. And lastly, I would just say that do not just take this. It's very important that we gain a practical experience of it. With all of the open source LLMs and the coming, all the open source LLMs that we have available, or the data that is publicly available, there's a lot of opportunity for each one of us to experiment with that particular model. Stanford actually runs a data summit, I think, or not a data summit. It runs a data, not getting the word, but a kind of they make a lot of US data being accessible during that 4 weeks of time period, and I was in one of them, which makes you very easy to experiment with these algorithms and models that you can kind of build around. So gaining the practical experience would never kind of, it will give you a lot of confidence to go about. Okay. While all of us are either as a user or maybe integrating with models in our systems assets, there's a lot of buzzwords about responsible AI. May I know if anyone heard about it? And this was very important for me to bring about because, okay, would you like to share something?
I think it's an addition to what kind of prompts or what kind of things that the user is asking about.
I think it's about like what kind of things the user is asking from the model. I'm not sure if you remember about when the first model which was GPT when it came, and then like lots of people were asking stupid things, if I can recall it. Things like how to make a bomb or like how to hack someone's Wi-Fi to the level that like they had to like implement certain measures to stop people from doing that. That's one part of the responsibility. Another part I will talk about it from my point as a student. The university, like, because it keeps catching people like doing academic misconduct by using the artificial intelligence to do for them their assignments. So now they implemented new measures to actually like tell people, okay, before you say that you didn't know, now we're telling you do not use that in your assignments. So when we tell you it's academic misconduct, don't come and say you didn't know. So yeah, that's also responsible. It's honesty between yourself and what you actually learn. So yeah, I think that's how I see responsible AI use in my own opinion.
Fantastic. Anyone else wants to add that?
Probably I'll go with the first point, bias and fairness. Yeah. Basically, when you are building an AI, a lot of things depend on the data you have and the amount of data that you have. And for example, AWS came up with a product where they were picking up all the CVs that they got from people, and they were giving information that these are the selected people who are hired, and kind of that was a little bit more biased candidates, and also somebody like let's say common names, and that actually became biased towards CVs with characteristics.
Very well example. And yes, I completely agree that the model, the model has an engine, and that engine is, or that oil is your data. Data is where it actually really functions, and there's a huge amount of pre-processing on the data. If we go by the model life cycles, data cleansing, data preparation for your model is the prime most important, and the most time goes in that particular space rather than the model development or model evaluations or model explainability to be kind of created, which is also one of the concerns to go about. But as we say, the data it reflects our society, and that reflection is what are the decisions that humans have taken. And if our humans' decisions have been biased, that actually invariably goes into your into your machine training data, and that actually also results into your subsequent outcomes that you or inferences that you get from your model. So having very conscious efforts towards having all the community data, having all the inclusivity being built around when you are either using the artificial intelligence or also building those particular models is very important. So bias and fairness is one of the responsible AI principles to go about. Other aspect is also about data protection and privacy. I think we all know that when DeepSeek came into picture, there are many countries that actually banned it from its usage, primarily because the data is not secure, or there were concerns about the data security as to where the data is getting stored, what hops it is making, and all together. So there's a lot of already a concern with regards to the data privacy, customer data being hacked or being leaked to multiple organizations that can benefit from that particular space. And I would say that, as my friend just explained about, that the universities encourage them to kind of do the assignment themselves and not leverage the chat GPTs. Or there are instances where people have really asked how to make a bomb with the chat GPT, correct? So there are filters which are being built right now in the artificial intelligence models, or Google also provides those particular filters when you are using them to really have those filters which can kind of give you the response to the user saying that this is like, I'm sorry, I cannot kind of really give you the appropriate answer for this, or this is not a legitimate question to kind of go about and all that. So I start experimenting with those filters as well. Transparency and explainability is another concern. I think still a lot of models, and especially the models that cannot be interpreted, like the models which have rule-based, or they are more like a decision trees kinds of the models, they can be very well. Am I up on that?
No, it's just straight. Yeah, the sound.
Okay. So those particular models are okay, but when it comes to explainability aspect of the newer models, it's still a lot of concerns as to why that particular decisions. And let me just take my own example. I built a credit decisioning model in my bank, and invariably when we were going for that operationalizing it into the production, the regulator asked us as to what, how would you be able to explain that this customer who has placed a request for a loan is actually denied. So can you really walk me through all the audit trail and all the things that a model, based on which the model has taken up the decision. So right now still there is a lot of research going on really making these models as more explainable and having those decisions being well explained from that standpoint. Inclusivity, as I mentioned, is more around the bias and the fairness, having not just he mentioned about the example of the CVs, more of the male CVs being picked up, and maybe also from a particular community being kind of left asset. So inclusivity is another principle around that. And governance. I'll keep it down and maybe I'll very loud. So there are a lot of regulations that are coming into picture. Some of them, and I'm sure we all are watching up the news, and some of the best say that the regulations are really becoming a bottleneck into the evolution and the true potential that AI can have. But I am still a true believer that there has to be a governance, there has to be ethics, there has to be proper guardrails being built around AI, and that is where EU AI Act came into picture. European Union were the pioneer with more than 100 companies across the industry signing up this particular contract as to what the risk element is on this AI systems, and really defining those risk systems, particularly which are dealing with the humans data or clinical data or legal data or to go about. And likewise, Australia has also kind of really leveraged the EU AI Act, and also coming up with some of the regulations around that particular one. So keep a watch on that as we develop and deploy these AI systems into your companies. This is the last one, I would say, and I think I will end with my last statement and then open up for a quick question. So we all know that it started with interchangeably we use artificial intelligence, machine learning. We also kind of start saying neural networks or deep learning to kind of go about, but they all have their own significance. They are meant to be kind of really solving a different kind of a problem. They are subset of each other, but they are specifically solving certain kind of the problems to go about. So as we speak, I'm sure agentic AI or AGI that we call it out has been the buzzwords where the agents are really going through multiple SaaS systems and really getting all your complex workflows being done autonomously, and the machine can really adapt and learn from its own. So there is a lot of things which are upcoming on the agentic AIs. There's a buzzword about having RPA, robotics process automation, or your business process automation almost kind of dying, or your SaaS being dead, which is what Satya Nadella spoke about. That SaaS will not be a future in the long run. So keep watching about how this whole thing is working. But what excites me is the quantum. I think the quantum computing and the quantum mechanics has always been a fascinating topic, and the speed at which you can do the computations will really kind of be a game changer in the go forward basis. How our encryption mechanism that we are using right now can be changed. How can we really have more different approach towards our entire security aspect of it would really change with the whole of the quantum computing and the quantum mechanics to go about. So with that, I would just say we are all AI enthusiasts, and that is quite reflected from your presence today. I really thank you for attending this, and our journey starts here. I'm sure we all should take a bold step and avoid any kind of redundancies or us becoming not competitive in the go forward basis. So I would just end with one last statement, which is if you could just press it.
There's one more.
No, there's just one.
Oh,
So it says AI won't replace humans, but humans who use AI will replace those who don't. Thank you. Thank you. And have a lovely day.
thanks. Any questions?
Actually, I found out last time. So thank you for that.
Okay.
That's you. Okay, it's actually two questions. So do you really think an AI is overhyped? Because it really isn't. It feels like we've done this before. We're all on the hype train. We know where we're going. We don't know how long the tracks for. It just seems like it's all promising and underdoing. The other thing is, we personally had a wild moment.
Yeah. Both of them are fantastic questions. So I think any disruptive technology starts with an overhype. There's always a scale in which it goes through. I would relate to like a steam engine way back when the industrial revolution started, correct? When it came into picture, everybody was like wowed about it, that nothing can be changed. When ChatGPT came in, it was like nothing, like everybody started using and started kind of asking some stupid questions to the ChatGPT without even realizing the environmental impact of those particular computation that it is doing at the back end. So certainly, I would say that the stage that we are in right now, that overwhelming aspect has gone, and now we are, as a developer, I would say that I'm really, I really feel that the technology has a lot of potential to go about, and we are just beginning to exploit that kind of a potential asset. And very rightly said, since it is the buzzwords, I have personally faced that all my stakeholders who are sitting on the business side, every